Hi, I'm Kathy King, and I'm here at the Potters Council Splendid Surfaces Conference here at Amico Brent, and I've been doing some demo on Sgraffito today, so I thought I'd show you a little bit about it. So first off, I have a plate that I threw yesterday, and it is just past leather hard. And in terms of prepping a piece for Sgraffito or just carving into the clay, it's a great idea to let the piece get a little bit drier than you think it should be. The idea is that I am using a black underglaze, this LUG1 black from Amico that I like using a lot. It's really smooth, and you can pretty much depend on getting a really nice coat as you go. Now, to get a thick enough coating so that after the whole process and it's glazed that it's going to appear pure black, I want to make sure that I have a couple of coats on. And honestly, I will go between 5 to 7 coats. Now note, that's very different than what the label says, where it tells you to put on 3 coats. And that's because you're usually putting it on bone dry work or bisqueware that is much more absorbent than this leather hard plate. So I'm compensating for that by putting on more coats than the recommended amount is. So while that plate is drying, I have a slab ready that has enough underglaze and is ready to go. It almost looks too dry in a way, but it really isn't. As long as I can touch it and not leave a fingerprint, then I'm pretty good to go. And I need to think about what kind of imagery I want to put on the piece next. So one thing I could do is just start drawing freehand, and with a pencil on top of this surface, I can actually see the pencil very lightly. It's probably not something you can see from there, but that will work out well. But a trick I learned from doing a lot of tile work in the past was to actually do all my drawings separately on tracing paper. The trick of this, though, is to keep the tracing paper pretty flat on your tile, and then to just go over your drawing with a pencil. And it's actually a great idea to use a colored pencil if you have one, and then you can see exactly where you've gone. Once I'm done, I should be able to lift up the paper and see the impression of the pencil onto the clay surface. This is going to give me a guide to start carving from. The main tools that I'm using when I'm carving are these tools called cleanup tools, and they were originally created to help mold makers clean up seams around slip cast pieces and in creating molds. Essentially what it is a tool that has a curved end and then a triangular end as a blade. I don't use the triangular end as much as I use the curved end, and holding it like a pencil, you can even see I have one of those things you had in 3rd grade to help correct how you hold the tool. I basically start by going over the line that I just embedded in the clay to give me a clear outline of the piece. So once we're doing the outline, we can start thinking about what kind of patterns we might want to make in terms of carving. It's certainly not going to be just a line drawing. I'll be able to create some movement or shading from just the use of this black underglaze, or essentially a clay slip over the white porcelain body. So you can see the white porcelain kind of shining through now. And I know the slab is at its perfect point of carving if I can carve, and these little bits of clay that come up from the edge of the tool, I call them noogies, if they brush away easily. So I have like a, pardon me, a clean powder brush nearby, and every once in a while just brush those away. If those aren't cleanly coming off, then the clay might be a little too moist still. So now I want to think about where I'm going to take out the most clay, where I just want to create a pattern, and usually I start with the background because that tends to be a little bit easier, and then I start thinking about what else I might do for the rest of the piece. So just starting with the tool in my hand and at a little bit of an angle, I'm just going to start doing a repetitive carve. And again, this kind of little repetitive carve will leave a line of black everywhere you go. You don't have to have that happen. You can certainly just angle the tool a little bit more, and that will take out a larger area, and you can actually have it, you know, essentially scrape the clay down. And this is just repetitive and takes a long time to do, and you make a giant pile of crumbs. But if you're like me and this is really enjoyable to do, then this could be the technique for you. So maybe on her skin I might take off a little bit more of the clay, and so I've just curved my blade a little bit more, and you can see I'm leaving a much more large area of white, or I'm not leaving the same amount of these little repetitive black marks as I was working with on the pattern, on the background. And this is certainly not the only kind of tool you could use. I've met so many great people in doing workshops on this technique and learn from them as well, like using linoleum cutting blades, using wood cut tools, anything with a good sharp blade. I've known people use dental tools, which is just too creepy for me to even think about, but everybody kind of has their own way of finding the right tool for the job. For the feathers here, I could start to use a different kind of texture to show the motion or the direction of the feathers. Almost like a little dash pattern. And I try and be mindful of, you know, adding a little bit of form to this two-dimensional drawing through the direction of the pattern or the shadows I can create from the carving. So the one tip I can give you is that your piece, after it's glazed and all finished, is going to have a lot more impact if you take the time to take out a good amount of the black. When it's if I just fired this with the drawing, just this white line drawing, it really doesn't pop as much as it would to have a larger or more balanced degree of contrast between the black and the white of the clay. So you do want to try and plan it out ahead of time and think where you'd like your lightest lights to be and your darkest darks. So though I'm demonstrating this drawing on a slab or a flat surface, I wanted to make the point that these are wonderful to use for three-dimensional forms as well. And this is a finished lidded jar that I did not too long ago, and I used that same figure of the lady as inspiration. And if you notice, this jar I used two different colors. I used a white underglaze on this side and the black underglaze on the other, and so you can see the finished look with the clear gloss glaze over it.